If you get a cold, you're not called a flu, you're not called a flu. If you get schizophrenia, you're called a schizophrenic.
If I wasn't there, there would need to be somebody coming in to remind them to take their medication, to get washed, to get dressed, to remember to eat.
I'm a granny, that's my duty. When she's in this kind of problem, and I feel like somebody taking my heart away.
We're here too, the families. We are part of it.
My husband was going to take his life with a razor blade, and I had to then act very quickly. Overnight, I became a carer.
When taking care of my relative absorbed the 24 hours in the day, that's when I realised I was a carer.
Wherever she go, I'm there. Wherever I go, she's with me.
I started caring when I was 16. That's been 20 years. I looked after my brother and I still look after my mum. I never ever classed myself as a carer. It was just my role that I had to do. How did you feel when you became a carer?
In the beginning, I found everything very confusing. It was very difficult, very hard to understand. If you went to professionals, doctors, they were using words that you'd never heard before.
Diagnosis can take a long time. It can take, maybe 6 months, 2 years before the person who is ill is diagnosed. I think we should have some form of support before diagnosis.
I can't understand why the medical profession leave it until there's a crisis within a family before they intervene. If it's a physical illness, a person wouldn't be left to bleed until they've only got a pint of blood left in them. So what's the difference between the physical intervention and the mental intervention?
Is there anything you wish someone had told you in the beginning?
In the early days, it was as if all these services were in a big closed castle and I couldn't get near them. And I was outside and didn't know anything about them, and there were names and people and organisations, and none of them launched a lifeboat. It was as if I had to go and fight my way through that. Now, I don't expect them to do everything for me, but what I would have hoped that in some way these doors would have been open.
I wish when I was 16 I had someone to tell me that there was help out there for carers. We've got feelings, we get stressed out, we need support.
He can't cook a meal, he can't choose sort of simple things. It's almost as if he's not the person that he once was, which affects me.
They won't wash, they won't dress themselves, they won't get up, they lie late, they're up all night. They don't want to go out the house.
She wouldn't even bother to eat. And that time I feel like I've got a double job.
And having the person that you love most in the world begging you to help them take their life is not funny.
I didn't never cry in front of her. I always cry. I go in the toilet, close the door, and I give them good cry and come out.
My family, my close family, didn't want to talk to us. So I had that distance from us because they didn't understand what mental health was all about.
I tell all the Asian community, all my friends and everyone, nothing shame to be a mental health problem,
Because mental health people are just the same as you and I.
Yes.
If you don't get that knowledge and support and shoulders to cry on, because mental illness, people don't know what causes it, and that makes it worse.
Everything that I read on paper, all the information that was given to me sounded wonderful, but the reality was miles apart, night and day. I felt very disillusioned, very isolated, on my own with no support whatsoever at a very crucial time
And I kept asking, who's the person on the other end of the phone? Who's the person I'm going to be able to say, I think I've got a problem here, can you help? Oh no, I'll be all right. And I said, it's not going to be all right. I want somebody on the phone, because you're all going to go away, we are going to go back, and we're going to live as a family, and it's going to be 24/7. Because I've got all sorts of nonsensical ideas about mental illness. I don't know what my relative is going to do. I'm concerned, I'm worried, I'm fearful. But oh no, nobody wanted to know about that. So we would waltz out having felt embarrassed, patronised, used. What would have made it better is this, if we had been involved generally as a family.
Whatever carers say, they should listen to the carer, because carers are problem in 24/7. They watching everything, nobody else.
You don't have to breach confidentiality. Don't want to know about my relative's condition as such. I don't really want. I want to know about how to do the right thing.
When my son eventually was taken into hospital and given the treatment that he sorely needed, and the doctor at that particular time kept me well informed, and I felt included, but were very helpful. My message would be to the professionals dealing with mentally ill people, could just step back for a few minutes and put themselves in the carer's shoes. It could be their mother, father, husband, wife, son, daughter.
Now, not everyone who has a mental illness and goes through that the system has a family to fall back on. Now, this is a precious resource. Now, these should be nurtured. These are barefoot nurses. We are moving towards perhaps involvement, a more direct involvement, but we're not there yet.
Can you tell me what's helped you most?
The medical people did what they do, and I support them. Don't get me wrong in this at all. But the real support starts to come from the outside agencies.
Glasgow Association for Mental Health in particular, but were very helpful. I realised that I was not unique, and that in itself gave me strength.
Because you're talking with other people who've been there, seen it, got the T-shirt.
You begin to realise that what you've been going through, people have been going through for decades, and there is ways out, and there's ways of dealing with it. And there's shoulders to cry on, because sometimes you can get quite angry, irritated, and you get guilty, and you can defuse this within the group.
If it wasn't for GAMH and also my mum's nurse that comes out, I'd be totally lost. Anytime I've got any problems, I can just give them my phone. They've always got time for you, they explain things.
And I feel like GAMH is my backbone.
And through them, I've learned so much about mental health, and now I can support other people.
My husband becoming unwell, it stopped me thinking about me all the time, and just really made me a better person.
People become carers every day. Is there any advice that you could give them?
If you go problem, not to hide. Speak to your doctor, speak to your GAMH people. Don't feel shy or don't hesitate to speak each other. Come out for help, because the help is everywhere.
Don't hide it. It is nothing to be ashamed of.
Don't go through it on your own. Don't feel ashamed to ask for help. Everybody has to have help at some point in their lives.
Until they don't speak out, they're not getting any help.
You have to remember, as a carer, the most important thing is me time, no matter what. Go swimming, join a class, learn something new. All this makes it possible for me to look after me, because you have to look after number one. If you don't look after number one, you can't look after anybody else. And I've learnt that the hard way.
You can't make it go away. You can't cure people. And there's no point in punishing yourself.
You can learn to live with it, some forms of mental illness.
It's great having my relative back the way they were to a degree. That's good fun. The periods of illness disappear, so things can get better.
That's it. Don't let it hold you back.